If you're looking for a classic vanilla cheesecake recipe that's smooth, creamy, and turns out perfectly every time, this recipe is for you. It's delicious on its own, and it's a great base for sharing with all different kinds of toppings. Hi, I'm Lindsay from Life, Love, and Sugar, and today we're making a classic vanilla cheesecake. All right, so to get started, we're gonna make our crust. We've got our graham cracker crumbs. I personally like to grind them up myself, but you can buy them store-bought. I just think that when you make them yourself, they have better flavor. Some sugar. We'll stir this up. And we'll add our melted butter. So we're gonna get our springform pan. I've already sprayed it with some nonstick spray. I'm gonna add a piece of parchment paper to the bottom. This will help make it easier to remove the cheesecake from the pan later. Now we're gonna add our crust ingredients in here. I like to spread them out pretty evenly in the bottom of the pan and just push a little bit extra out to the edges so I can use that to kind of move up the sides of the pan to make that part of the crust. And then if you have a cup or a measuring cup or something that you can use that has a nice corner like this and a straight edge, I love using this to help form my crust. All right, and there we have our crust. You don't want to go too high up the sides or it might go up above the edges of the top of the cheesecake. All right, so now we're gonna pop this in the oven and bake it for about 8 minutes. All right, so while our crust is baking, we can start on our cheesecake filling. I've got my room temperature cream cheese. And then some regular sugar. And a little all-purpose flour. Now we're going to mix this together until it's all well combined and smooth and creamy. Just be sure to mix on low speed so you don't add too much air to your filling, which could cause cracks later. Okay, so now we're going to add our sour cream and our vanilla extract. And then we'll mix these together again on low speed until they're all well combined. All right, I'm going to scrape down the sides, just make sure everything is getting incorporated and we're not going to end up with any lumps. All right, now we're gonna add our eggs one at a time. We'll mix that in until it's combined. All right, egg number 2. Last egg. All right, I'm going to take this off the mixer and give it a good stir by hand. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is well combined and there aren't any pockets of anything hiding out in here before I add this to my crust. Okay, so we have our baked crust here. We're going to go ahead and get this ready for the water bath. Traditionally, you may use aluminum foil. I find that teeny tiny little tears get into the foil sometimes and can cause you to get water in your crust. So I actually like to use these silicone cake pans. It's just slightly bigger than the 9-inch springform. And I can fit this right down in there instead of having to use foil. Then I can set this inside my larger pan and that's ready to go. And now I will add my filling to the crust. Sometimes you can get little air bubbles in the top of your cheesecake, and I just like to pop those so they don't mess up the top of my cheesecake. All right, so now we can go ahead and add some water into this pan to make our water bath. You want the water to go about halfway up the side of the foil, or in this case, the silicone pan. You don't want it too high. Now we can put this in the oven. It bakes for about 1 hour and 15 minutes, and then it does the slow cooling process that I like to do to help it not crack. It continues to slowly bake at the end while also slowly cooling so that it doesn't crack. So after it bakes for 1 hour and 15 minutes, you'll turn off the oven and leave the door closed for 30 minutes. It'll continue to finish baking while it also begins to cool. And then you'll crack open the door a little bit for another 30 minutes, and it'll slowly cool. This helps prevent it from cooling too quickly, which can lead to cracks. So let's pop it in the oven. All right, so once your cheesecake has baked, cooled, and chilled, you can go ahead and remove it from your springform pan. If you want to remove it from the bottom of the pan as well, we have that parchment paper in there that makes it easier to slide off and onto a serving platter. So you can use an offset spatula or something similar to get under there and help loosen it up. It should slide right off onto your hand. And then you can actually pull that piece of parchment paper off. And then we can put this on our serving platter. Now, one of the things I love most about this cheesecake is you can serve it with anything. Whipped cream and fresh berries, this raspberry sauce, which is on my site, caramel sauce, which you can also find a great recipe for on my site, any number of toppings. So get a group together, give them their own slice, lots of toppings to choose from. It'll be delicious, it's rich, creamy, and so good. For the full recipe, head over to lifeloveandsugar.com.